Okay, so today in Christian leadership, we are looking at the second section, winning with people, and we've been looking at some principles. Now, we've been studying these principles, and we saw a principle is like when we look at the term principle itself, it's a statement of truth which we can apply, meaning we can work in our lives, apply it in our lives, right? So the first one, when it came to winning with people, we saw that we need to get ready to relate to others. We looked at that. Okay. And the second one, we looked at, in getting ready to relate to people, we need to focus on others. If we want to have a winning, we want to win with people, we need to focus on others. So we looked at some of those principles that really help us to focus on others, to be selfless, right? Because normally it's 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 normal or it's natural that we look at ourselves first, right? Um, and so, how can we focus on others? Because that will actually help us to lead people in a better way, to help us to for people also to experience a win in their lives. So we looked at that. We looked at four of those, right? Let's look at the fifth principle, which is the number 10 principle. Okay. Let me just share the notes. Okay. Number 10 principle, right? I think we're on page 36 of the notes. The number 10 principle. So, what is this number 10 principle? Okay. So, this is about focusing on others. Okay. So, now when we look at the number 10 in some of the sports, like gymnastics and diving and so on, this number 10 is the perfect score, is the maximum that you can score, right? Suppose there is gymnastics, and then there are usually those three judges, and the average of those three scores is what they take for a win, right? So the maximum that you can score in each of those judges will give this thing is out of 10, right? Out of 10 marks, 10 points. So the number 10 principle is to give someone a 10. Okay, that means you give them the full score, right? See, there are two ways to look at it, to look at someone, right? Guilty unless proved innocent, or innocent till proved guilty, right? Some of us take that approach, okay, right? You are innocent till you are proved guilty, which means you are a very more positive oriented person, right, in your interaction with people. But you could be very pessimistic, in the sense very, very careful, very guarded because of past experience. And that other person is, I'm sure you would have noticed people that they don't smile, very careful, meeting people, interacting with people. For them, that person is guilty until he or she is proved innocent, which means that, you are first guilty of something, guilty of some wrongdoing. Now you need to now show proof that you are actually innocent. We could have that kind of approach, right? Now, the number 10 principle is like, hey, this person is innocent until proved guilty. You're putting them, you're esteeming them higher than yourself, and you're giving them a score of 10, perfect 10, right? So the thing is this, when you actually esteem the person, when you actually affirm the person, normally what people say is that the person actually responds in a positive way, right? If you're going to always be suspicious of the person, of another person, then they are also going to be equally careful or suspicious in nature. But if you're going to be positive and if you're going to be esteeming them highly, then they will actually bring out the best in them, right? Like you trust them, then they will show or reciprocate that trust. In most cases, this is what happens, right? So then we should not disqualify people based on our personal experience or personal bias or prejudice, right? So all of us, we would have some kind of bias, some kind of prejudice when it comes to people, when it comes to interacting with people, right? What are some of those? Any idea? You might have some. I'm not saying you have, but then generally, right? Let's say you're looking at a politician. Okay, one politician comes and he wants to study APC Bible College. He's doing a course on Christian leadership. How do you immediately see that person? What goes on in your mind?
He's coming with some intention of winning the election or pleasing people.
Yeah, true. Yeah, Lucy. So, coming with some intention, he's coming to get votes, right? Okay, students are there. They are all 18 and above, and then they can vote. So he's coming. Yeah, and Biju said that person is corrupt. Okay, anyone else? So mostly, I think this is what. So let's say he's coming with one. Mostly politicians wear one gold thing. You can see it hanging in there. Some watch, and then you say, okay, this is some bribe. That person has taken some bribe, and out because of that, he has got some black money. He has got it, right. So that is what is that? That is that picture that we have of that person. It's a bias it's a bias, meaning like we already prejudge that person. Prejudice is prejudged. You don't know anything about that person. We've not even heard of that person. We've not even been introduced. We've not interacted, but we've seen the person and we make some judgment, right? It's a bias or a prejudice. Based on our bias, we make some prejudiced decisions, right? It is based on our interaction of the past, right? And no denying that. Right? It's based on interaction of the past. It's based on what we see maybe in the media. It's what we read in the newspapers. And when we see that everybody's like this, right? And the truth is, not everybody is like that. But we come to that conclusion, right? So when it comes to the number 10 principle, right? This holds us back. We see a certain kind of person, you know, coming from a certain place. Let's say that person is coming. I'm from Tamil Nadu, so I'll say Tamil Nadu. Coming from Tamil Nadu. Okay, immediately some bias. Oh, this guy will act like Rajinikanth, right? This guy will act like some of those politicians there. Moved so much by emotion, not so much of logic, reasoning, right? Um, so all those biases could be there, right? So it can be based on a language that the person speaks. It can be based on the place from which the person comes, right? We fix those biases, and that prevents us from actually esteeming that person highly, right? We That prevents us from putting a perfect score of 10 on that person, right? But when we actually esteem that person higher, and when we believe the best of them, right? Normally, majority of them would respond and give their best, right? When we trust and when we believe the best, you can do it, right? When we give them the freedom and the trust and the responsibility that comes with it, they 9 out of 10 times they would actually respond in a positive way, right? So that would help us. This why are we talking about this? Like this number 10 principle actually helps us to focus on them, helps us to put that trust in them, helps us to esteem them and give them that honor, and therefore enable them to fulfill what they can, right? So that is what I remember a long time back when I first joined church, and I think that time there were only 3 people working as full-time staff, right? And I was also one of them. So 3 of us, 4 people, I guess. Yeah, I was one of the 4. So then I remember um, Pastor Ashish coming and giving me the card, bank card, okay, of the church, saying bank card of the church, and say now you have to, because I was handling the accounts, I was handling the administration. Said, okay, use it. whatever this thing, you just make a note of it, you use it. My hand was literally shivering when I took the card, because this is the church money, right? Whatever comes into the church, whatever tithes and offerings, this is the thing. And he's giving me this responsibility of handling it. I have to make payments. I have to, whatever, withdraw cash. And, those days we used to have a lot of cash payments, etc. So literally. And then, but in my mind, I was like, how can he trust me like this? Like, I've just joined. Yeah. And I've joined for this role. But he's giving me this card and he's saying, okay, this is it. Take it, use it for all the expenses. So I made up my mind, hey, I'm going to return that trust. And I'm going to make sure that I'm going to be extra careful, very careful, make no mistakes, right? So that is what 9 out of 10 times, that is what happens when we actually give that trust, when we put that honor, and we say, hey, you can do it. I'm believing the best about you. When we believe the best about the person, that person also reciprocates and gives that best. So that's the number 10 principle, when we focus on others. Okay, then the other principle that we have, the sixth one, last one in this section, is called the confrontation principle. Okay, so what is this confrontation? Okay, now confrontation is something that is inevitable, right? When we confront, we will have to confront people. What does it mean? Which means we'll have to come face to face with people and tell some people that they are wrong, right? And bring correction and say, this is where you need to change. And also, sometimes we need to say that, we cannot continue working together, right? It's the confrontation. So if you're going to bring correction, if you're going to bring instruction, you're going to confront people and tell them that what they're doing needs to change, right? So what are some things that we need to keep in mind? Okay, we are going to look at conflict, everything later when it comes to teams. But this thing, first thing that we need to understand is, do you care for the person that you're confronting? Okay, because caring for the person before confronting means that you are actually interested in preserving that relationship, whatever, professionally you have a relationship, or maybe you have a friendship, you are interested in protecting that, right? You care for the person even before confronting them, which means you don't want to destroy the person's life. You don't want to say things to pull down or break down the dignity of that person, honor of that person, but you want to talk about that issue. You want to talk about the truth, right? You want to talk about something that is going wrong in their lives, and you need to bring change, right? So care for the person before confronting them. So when people know that you are interested, you genuinely care, then they are interested in receiving. They want to hear, they want to listen to what you have to say. Yeah, maybe this person really cares for my well-being, so I better listen, right? It's not something, that person doesn't like me, then that's why it keeps saying negative things. No, it's not like that. This person genuinely wants me to change, want things to change for the better, and therefore he or she is saying this, so let me listen. Okay, so here are some practical steps. Okay, so confront the person only if you care about them. Meet together as soon as possible. Okay, so that is the thing. So when somebody's doing something wrong, and you need to correct, you need to meet the person, have a meeting, and do that meeting as soon as possible, as soon as it is possible, right? Sometimes it's not, but do that as soon as it's possible. Don't delay, don't postpone that meeting, right? So that's very important, because the more we delay or the more we neglect, things get worse, right? We are hoping that, oh, things will change, hoping that, okay, maybe that person will realize. No, that will never. If you know that you need to do that, you need to point out, you need to share that feedback or share that correction, right? Okay, third thing is to seek understanding first, not necessarily agreement. Okay, now the person may not agree with everything that you're saying, right? But does that person understand what is actually wrong, what is going wrong? right? They may not, you might disagree to, agree, but then seek understanding. In the sense, from your side also, try to understand why did that person behave that way? Why did that person make that mistake? Right? You may not approve of it, right? You may not approve. Okay, that person might say, okay, there are three reasons why I did what I did. Three reasons why I robbed that bank, or three reasons why I could not be there on time, right? Three reasons why, I did not, whatever, I did not speak the truth, right? Try to understand, right? Okay, these are genuine reasons. Okay, you understand it, but that doesn't mean that you approve of that you approve of their methods, or you're saying, oh, yeah, I agree. This is, no, you don't. But try to seek understanding, just to find out what, why did they do why did they do what they did, right? Okay. Fourth one is outline the issue. Okay, what is the problem here? Be very clear, because you're confronting the person. We need to be clear. What is the issue? The issue cannot be, I don't like the way you talk. It cannot be like that. Or, the way you're looking at me angrily, I don't like all that expression. It cannot be like that, right? It has to be a clear issue. What is the problem there? So clearly outline the issue, right? Why is your attitude like this? Your attitude, or your action. Be clear, outline, and encourage a response. Meaning, fifth one is encouraging a response. You share and you ask them, what do you think? Why did you do? Or what do you think? And then agree on an action plan, which means that you say, okay, now this is wrong. This is the right thing. You know it. I know it. Now, how can you go back to doing what needs to be done? How can you actually correct this, right? So now, this confrontation plan or principle, works when we take this approach. And if the person may or may not agree, right? But this is a good approach to take, especially when it comes to a long-term thing, right? When you want to preserve the relationship, and the person most likely would respond in a fair way, right? If not, of course, we'll have to use, some extreme forms of decision making, right? Forms of correction, maybe, and there are consequences, especially if you're in a professional organization, or even in a ministry or a church, or any sort. There are these consequences, and so that needs to be spelt out. That needs to be communicated, saying, "Hey, this is the agreement that we had. You did not honor this, and therefore we have to take a decision." Or to say that, if this happens again, or if this happens one more time, we need to make this decision. So that needs to be communicated, right? So that can be the action plan as well, right? Okay, so this is the confrontation principle. Now, why did we look at these principles again? Because this helps us to turn our focus onto people. Okay, so that's the second thing that we want. Um, we want to be people who can actually focus on others. Okay, so we looked at these 6 principles. Okay, any questions? Yeah, yeah. You can just use the mic. Sorry.
So we were discussing about this number 10 people principle.
Principle. Yeah.
So because in cricket and football, often we used to see number 10 jersey.
Yeah.
So that shows we have extra trust in that player or something. Is that?
I really don't know. I know some famous people use number 10, right? Like I think
Sachin
Maradona had.
Tendulkar and Messi and all, no?
Yeah.
They used to use.
Maradona also had 10. So I really don't know the history behind it. But maybe it has something to do with this. I'm not sure. Yeah.
And another question, this confrontation, about the confrontation. Can we apply that both in an office setting and in ministry also? All the six
yes.
steps.
Yeah, definitely. So the thing is that where we see the principle to esteem others better than ourselves. Right? Look out for not only look out for your own interests, but also for the interests of others. Right? So that's the principle. Do unto others what you want to be done to you. So that's the whole, the background behind this. So saying, okay, you trusting, you believe. Actually, a good example of that is the Lord Jesus, right? I think that he just role modeled that perfectly, where he looks. After the resurrection, he comes to Peter, and he has that conversation. Peter, do you love me? Feed my sheep, take care, and so on. So he kind of restores him back to that place of leadership, spiritual leadership that the Lord knew that he always had. But then he denied the Lord not just once, thrice. Being in that place of intimacy, closeness, having been a good friend, he denies in the face of pressure and danger. But the Lord again restores him back to that place. And that conversation is interesting because he says, do you love me? And do you love me? And, because he asks, do you agape? Peter says, I phileo, and things like that. So the Lord actually reasons with him this standard of love that Peter has, and reinstates that spiritual responsibility and leadership. Yeah. So that we see he trusts them. Yeah.
Another thing is, if we want to take some disciplinary action,
Yeah.
so that we should mutually agree upon the action plan.
Yeah.
Is that very important?
Yeah. So it's so that's why it's good to have a standard operating procedure. It's good to have, like in the ministry, and of course we have the Word of God as the foundation, as the from where we draw all our principles and guidelines from, and so when a person in the ministry also, it's good to have those guidelines and say, okay, I agree to abide by these guidelines, and I know that not abiding by these guidelines would result in some consequences. Certain things could be like a moral and ethical of nature, which means that I cannot continue working. If I'm going to have a lifestyle of that, I cannot continue working. So it's good to have that agreement in the beginning itself. So, yeah, based on which we can take decisions. Yeah, like our usual employment letter is actually a agreement, right? We are saying that I agree to abide by the rules of the organization. I agree to fulfill the commitments and expectation that is placed on me in this role, in this responsibility. So it's based on that agreement and trust that we move forward. Yeah. Any other questions? Okay. So let's move on. Let's look at the third one, which is building mutual trust. Okay. So this trusting another person is a very important factor. Like when it comes to people, when it comes to working with people, right? And this trust is a very precious commodity. It can be easily broken, right? But it takes a long time to build. Right? It takes time to build trust, and when people repeatedly do things so that to betray their trust, it's very difficult. It's not impossible, but it's very difficult to rebuild that trust, right? So it's a very important principle. So when it comes to building trust, okay, so any relationship, like whether it's a covenant relationship like marriage, whether it's a friendship, whether it's any kind of relationship, parent child, trust is at the center. You trust, and therefore you have a relationship, right? And also when it comes to a professional relationship, right, working in an organization or in a ministry, there has to be trust. You need to be able to trust that person in order to give that responsibility. Okay, so let's say you're handing over one glass plate. You have to trust that the person will hold that glass plate. Can you hold it? Yes, I will. Then you let go, right? But if that person also lets go, not only does the glass break, but then your trust in that person breaks. Repeatedly, if that person does that for 5 times, then you will not hand over anything precious, anything breakable into that person's hand because the trust is broken, right? So it's an important thing for a relationship to work, right? And when you're talking about people, you're talking about, when you say relationship, you're talking about all kinds of, informal, formal, professional, ministerial, right? So that is that, right? Okay, so trust is the foundation, right? So the thing is, for a person, we always look at the other person and say, hey, that person needs to be some person I can trust. Okay. But if you look at your own self and say, am I a person whom others can trust? That is a question. Can I be trusted all the time? Can I be trusted with responsibility? Can I be trusted to be on time? Can I be trusted if somebody gives me a job? Can I be trusted to do that well? And if I am interviewing myself, can I trust and take that person for a particular task? Can I take that person? If I am being interviewed by myself, can I trust? Right. Um, so being a trustworthy person will actually help us, and it will help other people to be able to trust us. Right? We need to be first trustworthy in order to see that, okay, other person can trust us. Okay. Hebrews 13 and verse 8 says, pray for us. We are sure that we have a clear conscience and desire to live honorably in every way. Okay, so what is saying that? Saying that, we have a clear conscience, and our desire is to live honorably every day, right? We want to live like this with a clear conscience. So that is great, right? That is enough for people to open up and trust. When they see that clear conscience, they don't have a hidden agenda, and they want to live a holy life, honorable life in every day, right? Um, so we need to understand this. So the first principle is called the bedrock principle. That's the bedrock is like it's a strong thing, it's a strong rock which makes the foundation for anything, for any structure. And the bedrock principle is this, that the trust is something which is very, very important. Okay, right. The second one is the situation principle. It's again to do with trust, right? What breaks the trust is when we make a wrong assessment, okay, about people. When we make a wrong assessment about people, when we jump to conclusions and we make certain decisions and say certain things and do things, then it results in a lot of damage, right? So, which means you lose the trust of the person, right? So when you are assessing, okay, about the person, about the issue, maybe some difficult things have happened. Be objective. What does it mean to be objective? Yeah. Be objective. The opposite of that is subjective. Okay, so what does it mean to be objective? Be real, be factual. What else? Be objective. See, let's say somebody does something wrong, and you've told that person 5 times, but the 6th time also they've done it, right? So what happens to you? You get upset, you get very angry, right? Emotionally stirred up, okay? And they betray the trust, so you're disappointed. All that is there. So all that will will be a filter when it comes to our interaction. Right? We're talking to that person, we are asking certain questions, and the person is saying something, but all that becomes a filter. Our anger, we're not able to hear clearly, right? That anger is actually changing everything. Whatever they are saying, we are not trusting that because We are not looking at the thing objectively. So the situation principle is that we need to very objectively assess the situation. Right? The problem, be very objective, right? So because if not, it's going to break the trust. Okay, so be very, very objective in it. Be committed to seeing the big picture and don't jump to conclusions. So that's very important. Right? For example, even while driving on the road, sometimes, just like honking there because that guy in front is like going so slow. I'm like wondering, why is he going slow? Why can't he know that there's a long line of vehicles behind and he's slowing down? Why? And then you try to overtake, then you see, oh, he's actually stopped because there's an old person who's carrying a heavy load and he's trying to cross the road. He's unable to cross. He's just going very slow. But all the while you were thinking, you're very angry with this guy, angry with this person. You're saying, why this person? These guys are always like this. These truck drivers are always like this, holding up traffic and very this thing. But then you see that, oh, he's actually slowed down because to help another person cross the road who is unable to cross, who's senior, elderly, and he's carrying something. So what did we do there? We actually jumped to a conclusion. In a split second, we jumped to a conclusion because we were in a hurry to get to some place, and we were not objective. We let our feelings, we let our biases and everything help decide, make that decision. This guy, is a problem. But actually, it was something else, right? So we need to be able to assess the whole situation. So that means the situation principle talks about that, says that don't jump to conclusions, right? Extend grace and the God kind of love, even in difficult situations, right? So let's say, yeah, the person has made a mistake, genuinely wrong, etc. And maybe you even need to let go of that person, right? You need to fire that person, let go, terminate the thing. Do it in a gracious way. Like no need to break the person, no need to be disrespectful to the person. Sometimes we are in our anger, we speak words very disrespectfully, right? We don't have to do that, right? We can state the facts and say because of this and this, we cannot continue, right? State the facts very objectively and say this is what it is, this is the situation, and very honorably we can let go. So extend the grace of God and the God kind of love, even in difficult situations. Now, that is the situation principle. Okay. The third principle is very interesting. Okay. It's about what we call as the Bob principle. Okay. So this is about, again, building mutual trust, right? So when someone has a problem with everybody, okay, when someone has a problem with everybody, okay, I have a problem with this person, I have a problem with that person, then usually that person himself or herself is the problem. Okay, I'm sure you. I think I've talked about that, right? Where a person goes to a doctor and says, "Doctor, my finger is hurting, or my whole body is hurting." He says, "Whole body is hurting." Doctor says, "How is that possible?" Yeah, whole body is hurting. My head is hurting. My cheek is hurting. My ears are hurting. Here it's hurting. Here, everywhere I'm hurting. Something's wrong. Then the doctor says, okay, checks and says, seems to be okay. Okay, show me your hand. And the doctor checks and finds out that the finger is broken. His finger is broken. So everywhere he's touching. He's saying, here it's hurting, here it's hurting, here it's hurting, here it's hurting. What is the problem? Broken finger. Right. So the thing is this, when someone has a problem with everybody, I have a problem with this person, I have a problem with that person, that's everybody. Then we need to check that person. Right? That person himself or herself maybe is the problem, right? So they are the ones who are creating the problems. They are the ones who are, so what is the thing? What is the solution? Be a problem solver. Okay? Try to solve, be a problem solver. Don't see others as a problem. Don't see everything as a problem. Be a problem solver. So that is called the Bob principle. When Bob has a problem with everyone, Bob is usually the problem. Okay. Okay. Let's look at one more. principle, and then two more are there. Let's look at that. Okay, so we are studying these principles because these either help build trust, okay, or not following these principles actually destroy trust, right? So especially this Bob principle, actually, if you know that, you realize that, okay, this is why is this person having a problem, with each and every, there's something wrong with them. The way they interact, they are not able to build trust, and they are the problem, right? Okay, so the fourth one is approachability principle. Okay, approachability principle. Okay, so what does it mean? To ask that question, how approachable are you? Okay, how approachable are you? Okay, what does it mean to be approachable? It means that, if people have a problem, can they come and talk to you? Right? If you are a team member, can they come and share that problem with you? Can they come and talk to you? Are you approachable? Okay, so when you talk about approach to a particular thing, it's like, okay, when I suppose I want to come to Bible College, the road is clear, I come. But then if there are too many things on the road, like speed breakers and barriers and detours, then it's not a very approachable situation to come to the Bible College, right? So sometimes to approach a person, right, the person themselves may not be very friendly, right? So here are some things that we are looking at. How can I make myself approachable, right? I'm sure you've met people where you wanted to ask, but then you look at them and you say, oh, this person is very, very serious looking, right? Very serious, very fierce looking. So I don't think I should even ask that person, right? I'll ask someone else, right? So because why? Because physically that person seems very temperamentally also very, very fierce, right? And you feel, okay, maybe this person may not understand the problem. How can I take this problem to that person, right? So what are some things that we can work on to make ourselves approachable? Okay, so which means exhibit personal warmth, in a sense. Be friendly, right? With people. Okay, what does it mean to be friendly with people, right? When somebody wishes, you wish them back, or you take the initiative to wish people, right? I've been in places where the one colleague just used to come to the office, okay, not even wish anyone, no good morning, nothing, just go straight to the desk, work, and even talking to people, even small conversations, nothing at all, and then go back, right? So with such a kind of a person, will people feel okay to talk? No. They'll think twice. They'll think three times. Like, can I even, this person doesn't even wish. And so, maybe I'm going to be careful, right? So exhibit personal warmth, which means be friendly. Okay. Appreciate differences of people. Not everybody is going to be like you. Not everybody is going to have, they are going to be different, right? People are unique. People are different. They're going to have different strengths and different weaknesses even, right? They like certain things. They dislike certain things. For you, that particular restaurant must be the greatest thing that you've ever gone to, but then for them, they might not like it at all, right? So don't don't condemn people because of their likes and dislikes, right? Don't say, how can you not like this food? Maybe they're built differently, right? And and I know people from Andhra like spicy food. You guys like spicy food, full chilies, one round with pickle, rice and pickle, right? So instead of saying, how can you eat like this, right? How can you not, it's just a different taste. That's all. Something, nothing very, very serious, right? So appreciate the differences in people. So that will make you approachable. Okay. Third thing, don't have mood swings. Okay. Like when we were actually in college, actually, we used to comment about the teachers, right? Oh, so we used to be sitting, and then the teacher walks in, and then we'll say, okay, today bad mood. Okay, because the teacher came in with a frown, came in with a serious face, and then we'll say, okay, today this is what, and then we'll try to guess what happened. Maybe on the way they had a problem, or in the house they had a fight. They had a fight with the husband, fight with it. So something like that. We'll be, we are commenting and we're joking, and based on how the teacher walked into the class, right? Mood swings, and the thing is that, yeah, sometimes people have mood swings. One day they're in a great mood, another day they're in a bad mood, right? But can we, in order to be approachable to people, whatever's happening in our life personally, can we maintain an even temperament? That's the question, right? So yeah, sometimes things happen beyond our control, and yes, we cannot put on a mask. We can't put on a mask, and there's so much of pain. You're feeling a lot of pressure and pain and so on, and so yeah, it's normal. But how frequently is that? Monday, Wednesday, Friday, good mood. Thursday, Saturday, bad mood. We can't function like that, right? We can't have these up and down moods, right? So the thing is to develop being consistent in your temperament and mood. That always helps us to be approachable. So people know that, okay, even though that person might be, I can always talk to the person. Yeah. Okay. Fourth thing, be sensitive to other people's feelings, what they are going through. This is something that we studied earlier called the exchange principle, right? Put yourself in that person's shoes and try to go in them. Look at the other person through their perspective. Look at the world through their perspective. It is something similar to the exchange principle. So be sensitive towards other person's feelings, right? Be sensitive. So that doesn't mean that you're always saying that they are right, right? We are being sensitive. They're going through a rough time. They're going through some, thing. That doesn't mean that you are always approving of that. Okay? You're just being sensitive about other people's feelings. Be realistic about others' weaknesses and your own weakness, right? So other people have the weaknesses. Be realistic. Realistic meaning be objective, be real, be factual. Yes, this is a limitation of the person. Yes, there's a limitation on my side also, right? So be realistic about that. Develop the ability to forgive easily and quickly, and ask for forgiveness, and be authentic about it. Okay, so this always helps us to be approachable. If somebody's made a mistake and they repent, okay, they say, please forgive me. How long does it take for you to forgive? 1 week, 2 weeks, 1 month? And maybe you're saying, I'm still working on it. Years have passed, I'm still working on it. Right? So, when we forgive and forget and move on, right, then we are making ourselves more approachable to people. They can approach us and talk to us, right? And especially in ministry, we need to be approachable, right? Ministry is about people, right? You are talking to people, you're sharing with people, you're ministering to people, right? So we need to be approachable, right? So developing the ability to forgive and forget and move on, and even ask for forgiveness, right? Sometimes it's not their problem, it's our problem. We created the problem, but we need to ask forgiveness. And when we do that, instead of people seeing us as, okay, this person has a problem, this person has a weakness, they will see it as a strength, right? And more importantly, we will make ourselves more approachable to people. Okay, we'll stop here. Any questions? We looked at 4 principles. There's one more. Anything that you see it's difficult to do in all the principles that we saw today? We saw the bedrock principle, which means trust is very important. Yeah. So which means that if you are suspicious, you cannot actually work together. If you are always going to be suspicious, or if the other person is always looking behind the shoulder, what will this person do? When will this person stab? When will this person, you cannot function effectively. Yeah. So trust is very important. Situation principle, again, we looked at how we need to look at the full picture, and that will help build trust. Not jumping to conclusions, not making those subjective decisions, right? Okay. No questions at all?
Brother, but we need to be careful also in trusting the people.
Yes,
At
definitely.
our workplace.
Yeah. So we need to be careful. So if the person is, forever, taking your trust or breaking your trust, and if the person is not trustworthy, right? So we need to be definitely careful, right? Like the thing is this, you communicate, you share that person, and you tell them, oh, this is a problem, and if this occurs again, then I may not be able to extend the same kind of privileges, same kind of whatever you had access to. I'm not going to do that, right? So that changes till we see change. But the thing is this, are we willing to give them that grace to see change? Till we see change, we're not going to extend the same kind of privileges or accessibility or anything. Yeah. So that's what we're saying.
In a limited way, we just
Absolutely.
keep
Yeah.
ourselves with that
Absolutely.
person.
Yeah. So that is perfectly all right. Yeah.
Okay, brother. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So we'll stop here and we'll continue next class. Right. Thank you.